you're looking to add a trailer hitch onto your CRV, whether you're pulling a trailer, a bike rack, or adding a cargo carrier, you've found the right video, because the B&W trailer hitch receiver on a 2018 CRV is a really great option. We just got this installed, and my goal is to show you some of the features and also how to get it installed. So let's take a look at it. Now, the B&W Hitch is a hidden cross tube, meaning really the only thing you're going to see once it's installed is going to be your receiver and the safety chain loops. And I really like the way that this one sits. Now, looking at it right away, this is a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, and that's going to be kind of the standard when it comes to trailer hitch receivers. So for you, that means you have tons of options available when it comes to bike racks, cargo carriers, or even a ball mount. All of them are going to stay in place with a 5/8 pin and clip. Now, this is not included with the hitch, but generally when you pick up accessories, they'll have them included. And if not, if you wanted to pick up a normal one or a locking pin and clip, if you're planning on leaving accessories on. The safety chain loops, I really like the style because it's a plate style, but it's horizontal, which is nice. A lot of times vertical, you can just see them all the time. And this is equally as easy to hook things up if pulling a trailer. So here, a standard S-hook goes on with no problem. A larger clevis style will still go on there. Might be a little cumbersome, but you can still definitely use that. And that's going to come into play when pulling a trailer. So let's talk about some capacities. This one's rated pretty well. You have a 4,500 pound weight capacity, and that's going to be for your gross trailer weight rating. And that's the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it. So 4,500 pounds is a decent amount. Your tongue weight rating is also really good at 675 pounds, and that's going to be the weight that's on the inside of the receiver tube opening. A lot of times that's going to be suspended accessories like a cargo carrier or bike rack, and with 675 pounds, that's a 4-bike bike rack fully loaded or a cargo carrier fully loaded. So I really don't worry too much that you'll ever exceed that. And when it comes to that towing capacity, before you just hook up a trailer that's 4,500 pounds, I do recommend checking the vehicle's owner's manual to see what the vehicle's capable of towing, and then compare that with the hitched numbers. You really want to take the lowest number, and that way you stay safe. Just because the hitch can handle that weight doesn't necessarily mean the suspension or drivetrain on the CRV can. Now, when choosing accessories, sometimes on vehicles, when you get a bike rack or cargo carrier, they can fold into a vertical spot, which is really nice. It's going to save a little bit of space, but not always can you use them on those vehicles because they bump into the rear fascia. This one does sit out a little bit further than the fascia, and it's not unsightly. Some of them, they stick out way too far. This one is a perfect amount, and it's really going to make it to where I don't see any issues of, those vertical things not being able to store. So measurement wise, from the center of the hitch pin hole to the furthest point, it's like 1.5 inches. So I don't think there's an accessory out there that you're going to have issues with this hitch. And ground clearance is something else that's going to be important. Mostly if you're choosing a ball mount, if you planning on pulling a trailer, and this one from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground is 13 inches. So what does that mean for you? If you know that you're going to be pulling the same trailer over and over, you can get a fixed ball mount. Now, that measurement you can also omit with a adjustable ball mount to where you can raise or lower, and that's really good for a variety of trailers. But if you're going to have the same utility trailer pulling all the time, you can get a fixed one, and it's going to work great. The best way to determine which one you need with that rise and drop necessary is to get your trailer as level as possible, measure from the ground to the top of the coupler, and take that measurement and then compare it with our measurement and do a little bit of math to determine the rise or drop necessary. On something like this, you may need a small drop or pretty close to a straight shank. I really don't foresee you having to get much of a rise or a significant drop. So somewhere in there, depending on the trailer, is going to be what you need. Chances are you've watched the video to see how to get it installed, and I'll walk you through that. But if you don't have the time, the place, the tools, or even the want to install it yourself after watching this video, I completely understand, but don't let that deter you from getting a hitch. Adding a hitch to a vehicle really opens up what you can do with it. So if the install is going to be that thorn in the side, don't worry about it. You can find someone close to you to get it installed by reaching out using our dealer locator. You're going to find someone in your area that can get this hitch installed. You can be out on the road enjoying your adventures. Now, speaking of that installation, let's take a look at that now. Beginner installation, we're going to go underneath the rear fascia, and we're going to be removing this underbody panel. You're going to take a trim panel tool or a small flathead screwdriver and pry on that center portion and just try to walk out each edge. Something else that I'll point out is keep all of your hardware in a nice organized spot. It'll make reinstallation a lot easier. So we'll get the other one taken out here. The center ones, they're a little bit different, but similar concept. You have a notch on each side and 4 slots where you could put a screwdriver, but just kind of pry that, pull out the center, and the whole thing should come out. If it does separate, just grab both pieces and put them back together. The 2 nuts are located on the back side here. You may want an extension. And from here, we should be able to lower this and move it out of the way. Now at this point, we're going to be lowering down the muffler, and that's going to give us access to the frame rails where the hardware is going to bolt up the hitch. Now, you want to support the exhaust because once you take those isolators down, it's going to want to kind of weigh down a little bit. And there's one midway, but you want to support it so it's not putting extra stress on that. So you can put a block of wood or a box if you're doing this on the ground. I'm going to be using a cam buckle strap just to create a cradle. And as far as getting isolators off, your best bet is generally going to be a long flat head or a pry bar. And it's pretty easy on the mufflers here. You can just wedge it up and just kind of pry back on each side until you get both of them to pop off. Now, if it is fighting you a little bit, what you can do to help lubricate is just spray some soapy water on there, and that'll help make it easier to come off, but also to put back up. Now, the isolator that's on the rear of the subframe, best bet is to use the top one as a pry and just kind of pull it off like here. Now, you may want to move the mufflers kind of back and forth to wiggle that out. And then once that pops out, just make sure your head's not below any of it because it will want to drop down a little bit. And this is going to give us that space again to get to the frame rail. So I'm going to lower this down just a little so we have a little bit more clearance to work with. Our next step is going to be using the hardware, and you might have noticed there's the pull wires, there's carriage bolts, there's spacer blocks, and it all seems like a lot, but it's actually pretty easy to do. We're going to be utilizing the inside smaller holes that are in line with each other, but we're going to be using this larger access hole towards the rear of the vehicle to feed the hardware in. And the way we're going to get these installed is take the coiled end of your pull wire, feed it through the more forward hole, and then feed this back. You can reach up in the large access hole and grab that coiled section and just kind of hold it here for now. You'll take a spacer block, feed that over and into the frame rail, and then we'll get our carriage bolt threaded onto this coiled portion. Now you can pull the back end of the pull wire, and all of that should drop through the spacer block. Give it a jostle or two, and you can leave this pull wire on. That's going to make sure that when we raise the hitch up over these studs, it's not going to go back in the frame rail. We'll be able to keep those in place. Now we're going to repeat the same process for this small hole, and even though we could probably just feed it in directly, we do want to have that pull wire attached. We need to make clearance on our fascia for the hitch to slide up in place, and so we are going to have to trim out a little portion. It's really not that big, and the measurements are going to be found in the instruction manual, and they're going to be pretty close to get you where you need to be. We are going to be cutting off this tab, and as far as cutting goes, I use a multi-tool. It's nice and easy to get clean, straight cuts, but really any cutting method you have that you're comfortable with is going to work just fine. Now, they'll mention you go as far back as the kicked wand sensor, and that's if you have that hands-free lift gate. A lot of times it's just basically a wand that sits back here, and we want to make sure we don't cut that. Ours doesn't have that, so I just kind of eyeballed, and roughly about, I would say, 3/4 of an inch back should be plenty fine. So I'll get this cut out, and we're going to get the tab first. With that cut out, if you want to take a file or just a flat blade and you can drag it along these burrs, that should clean this up. And don't worry about that tab that we cut off. It really wasn't holding anything up, so it's not going to cause any issue for us. Grab our side plates for the hitch, and you're going to see that the outside wings of the hitch will go towards the outside, and this will curve. So make sure that you have it in this orientation. It should kind of wrap around the muffler. And we'll grab our pull wires and feed them through the corresponding holes. And you're going to want to grab 2 serrated flange nuts for each side. And that way when we thread this up, we can pull off one of the pull wires, get a few threads started, and it'll hold it up for us. Just slide this up. Now, part of this is going to slide into the fascia. So if it's looking like it's too large, trust me, at first glance I was a little concerned, but it does slide up in there. We'll get these pulled down, and then just hold this in place. And if you need to, slide that hitch back to give tension on the bolt. That way it's not going to move as you hand tighten this on. And we're not even really going to tighten it. We're just going to get a few threads started because we actually need it fairly loose to be able to slide the center section in. So with that one in place, I'll just get my other flange nut started on this one. And with these started on this side, we'll just repeat on the other side. Now our center section is just going to slide in those holes, and we should be able to get our carriage bolt holes to line up with the holes on our side plates. So have 3 carriage bolts ready for each side. You may want an extra set of hands here, but we're going to be sliding this up into the fascia. So just peel this back a little. And it's going to be a little bit of a tight fit, but should go up there fairly easily. And once you get one dropped in place, what you can do is take a carriage bolt and pass it through and just get that flange nut started. And that's at least going to hold that side up in place so you can work on the other. And with that dropped in place, we're going to just get all 3 carriage bolts and flange nuts started on each of the sides, so a total of 6. Now the forward hole is kind of tricky to get to, but if you kind of just reach your hand, peel back that fascia a little bit, that should make it a little bit easier. So now we're going to tighten down our hardware, and we don't have to get crazy here because we're going to come back with a torque wrench, and really we just want this side, well, both wings of the hitch to be flush with the frame of the vehicle. So if you want to, you can use your hand, but I'm going to be using just a quick electric ratchet. You can do the same with a hand ratchet and a 3/4 inch socket. So get these snug down first. Now double check to make sure that your hitch is centered up exactly where you want it, and then we'll go through and just get those other 3 on each side tightened down. Again, you can do this by hand, or you can just snug it down with a hand ratchet. No power tools necessary because, again, we're going to use that torque wrench. Now grab your torque wrench, and the torque settings are found in the instruction manual, and we'll go through and torque down each bolt. Now if you need a torque wrench, we have them available here at eTrailer, but you can generally go to an auto parts store and rent one for free. This is going to make sure that we are having the hardware tight enough, obviously, to use your hitch and tow stuff down the road, but also not too tight, putting stress on any of the hardware. And once you got them all torqued down, the next thing we're going to need to do is trim our underbody panel. Taped out the underbody panel to where they recommend cutting, and I'm going to cut this out and mock it up and get a nice perfect fit here. This is kind of a cardboard carpeted kind of structure, so using just a pair of tin snips is going to be enough, but again, you can use any cutting method that works for you. And as I mock it up, I do see that I'm going to need to cut just a smaller section to go around our safety chain loops, and I may need to do a little bit more on the other side, but a little trimming. Basically, we're just going to keep trimming until this drops into place where we originally had our plastic push pins and those nuts on the back side. So once you get it all trimmed up and you're happy with that, you can put all that stuff back in place. We'll get our isolators popped back in. Now, hopefully this video helped you get the hitch installed on your CR-V, and I hope you're happy with the finished product. Now, once you have it all set up and you're towing a trailer or using your accessories, snap some pictures and share your experience with us as far as the install and what adventures you're going on. We love to see that. It helps us make videos better for neighbors just like you that have a CR-V and are looking at a trailer hitch. My name's Brad. Thanks for watching.